Hey everyone, welcome to the reading of all the updates from Chapter 3 to Dee's Journal. Let's just get started right away with the updates to Ring a Bell. That's led us to Heartschild, town of the Shield Bearers. After being the wife of Commander Goodman, I caught a glimpse of a slender woman of great beauty. I asked her name, but perhaps too shy, she did not answer. She fled and I pursued her. In a corner of town, she caught me off guard with a sharp whack and gave me the slip. Talk about playing hard to get. The ground fell out from beneath Egil's feet. We could not grab him in time, and though Tiz rushed to save him, they both fell towards the lava below. Then Anius hurtled out from the cliff and caught them both. We hauled them up and shed a relieved laugh when it was clear no harm had been done, aside from the mud on our faces. Grandship has stopped sinking. It seems it will not founder after all. While wandering around in the council hall, I found a switch glowing with a faint light. Curiosity got the better of me, and I flicked it on impulsively. What a big shock it was learning that Grandship could fly. A big shock! From Idea. The first update to Tiz since the prologue. I now know why Tiz is so protective of Egil. Egil must remind him of his brother, who was swallowed by the Great Chasm. We have already spoken several times about his trouble sleeping. After pledging to work together to ensure that Egil came to no harm, we hurried off toward the Mithril Mine. Tiz may have been rash to leap in alone to save Egil, but Anius was just as reckless to catch them as they fell. We laughed together at Tiz's folly and Anius's good timing. Things have been tense between us since Florum, but I feel as if the air has now been cleared. An update to Anius. Tiz put his life in danger to save Egil, but thanks to Anius's quick action, no harm came to them. After reaching the Temple of Fire, we defeated the creature Chogmar that lurked there, and awakened the Fire Crystal. Updates to Adia. We left the house by the sea, but en route to the Shieldbearer headquarters, we encountered Swordmaster Kami Izumi. If Adia had not sensed danger and pushed Anius to the ground, her life may have been forfeit. The master and his former disciple exchanged heated words, ending only with news that the Swordbearer's attack had failed. Swordmaster Kami Izumi awaited us at the top floor of Starkfort, the lair of the Swordbearers, which was abuzz with the news of their defeat. He spoke with Adia in quiet tones, recognizing her conviction, but ultimately following his own beliefs as well. Upon his defeat, he urged her to speak with her father. She wept as life left his body. Update to Carl the Innkeep. After awakening the Fire Crystal, we heard the Innkeep had collapsed and rushed to his side. It seems that Owen's death was weighing heavily on him. We brought Egil to Kaldisla, and thanks in part to the King's good offices, the Innkeep returned to his old self. An update to the King of Kaldisla. We brought Egil to Kaldisla to cheer up the Innkeep, who was distraught at the loss of his only son, Owen. The king agreed to let Egil use the castle's training hall, and awarded him the young soldier's badge that Owen had treasured. He was also put in charge of rebuilding Neverending. Egil got his chance to shine, and the Innkeep got the companionship he needed. The Proprietress. The good-natured proprietress of the Drunken Pig Tavern on Grandship. She has watched out for us since we decided to dig Zats to Eisenberg. Her name and age are not known, but she has proven her pluck many times over. Zats and Dats have apparently frequented her tavern for years. She is a whiz in the kitchen, serving up everything from Tiz's favorite Kaldisla cuisine to the vegetarian dishes that Anius favors. She was wholly unperturbed by the panic surrounding the sinking Grandship, and caused Dats much grief when she refused to evacuate. She opted to stay on at the Drunken Pig even after Grandship became a gigantic airship when Orichalcum was cast into its engine. She has been cooking up tasty treats for us ever since. Dats, Shieldbearer. A bulky man who waited in the house by the sea for Zats to return from Grandship. Skilled at ship navigation, among other things. A 26-year-old man from the Eisen region. He's a corporal in the Shieldbearers, and grew up with Zats in a village near the old house. Despite his large frame, he has great manual dexterity, and is very attentive and friendly. Likes heart salami and dark ale, dislikes small animals. After Grandship became a gigantic airship, Dats and Zats left the Shieldbearers to join its crew, and have traveled with us ever since. Zats, Shieldbearer. A Shieldbearer envoy, he came to Grandship from war-torn Eisenberg to ask for aid. We took him with us to Eisenberg. A 26-year-old man from the Eisen region, a corporal in the Shieldbearers. He's as nimble and dexterous as he appears. He grew up with Dats in a village near the house by the sea, and they both went on to join the Shieldbearers. Likes cheese with holes. Dislikes cats and big animals. After the Fire Crystal was awakened, and with the civil war between the Shieldbearers and Swordbearers near an end, Grandship began to sink. Zats and Dats rushed to see the Propatress and helped evacuate the people on board. After a grand ship became a gigantic airship, Zats and Dats came on as crew and have traveled with us ever since. Swordmaster Kami Izumi, Black Blade's leader, a master of all forms of swordplay. He taught Adia and gifted her his favorite blade for her first campaign. A 45-year-old man from Eternia. His full name is Nobutsuna Kami Izumi, and he holds the Swordmaster asterisk. He is known far and wide as a formidable warrior and a great leader. Likes bitter tea and sweet bean soup. Dislikes cowardice and all forms of alcohol. We left the house by the sea, and Dats led us toward Eisen Bridge, where the shield bearers have their headquarters. Then, the Swordmaster attacked us out of nowhere. It appears he ran to his force by chance while they were on another mission. After exchanging a few words with Adia, he withdrew hastily to save the sword-bearer troops from being routed. As we investigated Grab Keep at the shield-bearer's request, we overheard the Swordmaster and Kata talking. We learned that the master sample of a toxic weapon was kept there, its use forbidden by the Swordmaster. We also heard that Kata had used the toxin against the Swordmaster's wishes, polluting the land for 3 years. We took the sample and headed back. After awakening the fire crystal, we headed to the Swordbearer's lair at Starkfort, but their commander had already escaped by airship. The Swordmaster told Adia his story in hushed tones. Unable to see eye to eye, a battle ensued. The Swordmaster succumbed after a deadly struggle, but not before imploring Adia to speak to her father. Captain Barbarossa, Black Blades. First mate of the Black Blades. He fought alongside Commander Kami Izumi for years, and his free-spirited personality makes him well-liked. A 35-year-old man from Kaldisla. His name is Hayredin Barbarossa, holder of the Pirate Asterisk. Uncommonly strong, he could spin his massive axe around like a windmill. Likes axes, rum, barrels of apples. Dislikes poor weather, lulls in the wind, and choppy seas. While sowing the Sea of Corsairs, we spotted a suspicious-looking ship surrounded by ominous fog. After boarding it, we found it to be the ghost ship of Captain Barbarossa and his spirit crew, prowling the open seas. Though he is our foe, his hearty laugh and the tale of his quest for adventure made me root for him a little. Kata, the Salve Maker, Black Blades. 3 years ago, he developed a toxic weapon and used it in battle against the Swordmaster's orders. He is now tasked with the cleanup. A 46-year-old man who hails from Eternia. His name is Kata, and he holds the Salve Maker asterisk. He's quick to forget his own mistakes and obligations, but holds on to grudges and clings to his meager achievements. Likes experiments, research, and praise. Dislikes patience, strict superiors. Kata is responsible for the civil war in Eisenberg dragging on so long. He used a forbidden toxic weapon out of cowardice, slaughtering 100,000 shield-bearer and sword-bearer soldiers. The area became an uninhabitable wasteland for over 3 years. Much to his chagrin, he was ordered to clean up the mess and treat the wounded soldiers. In a room in the Swordbearer's lair of Starkfort, we found Kata cursing his fate. He still held dark ambitions to develop new toxins and use them as weapons. We charged in and defeated him. Praline, Diva of the Battlefield. Black Blades. Stationed at Eisen Bridge where the shield-bearers and sword-bearers are locked in battle, she uses song to bolster her fan club. A 17-year-old girl from Florum. She goes by the name Praline a la mode and carries the performer asterisk. She is a battlefield diva and tends to ad-lib her way through life without thinking too much. Likes cheering and throat lozenges. Dislikes boring people and fresh cream. On the trail of a legendary bard, we visited the pupils he had taught, who were scattered around the world. The shield-bearer soldiers remembered the secrets to singing that Archipelago had left behind. They drowned out Praline's song with their chorus, defeating her. She discarded her microphone, saying she would return to being a normal girl. Konoe, the ninja. Black Blades. An assassin who leads the Black Blades covert force. There are rumors that she became an expert at disguise due to her paralyzing shyness. A 21-year-old woman from Eternia. Her full name is Konoe Kikyo, and she carries the ninja asterisk. When not disguised, she stays silent, but in costume she speaks in a rapid torrent of words. Likes makeup, collecting materials for her disguises. Dislikes the fat Phoebe. Kata. At a shield-bearer banquet, Kikyo dressed herself up as the corpse of a dead servant, intending to murder the key shield-bearers present. We happened to be there and used our powers of deduction to uncover her plot. She attacked and we were forced to defeat her. She was the one who rebuffed me before, so she must have been planning this for quite some time. Shield Bearer Commander Daniel Goodman. Shield Bearers. Leader of the besieged Shield Bearers in war-torn Eisenberg. He cares greatly for his troops and his wife, and is very popular. A 42-year-old man from Heartschild, husband of Elinor, whom he loves dearly. He comes from one of Heartschild's most distinguished families, and enjoys widespread support from both his subordinates and the general populace due to his general and sincere nature. Likes his wife's cooking, dislikes rations and false rumors. Dats took us to the Shieldbearer command post at Eisenbridge, where he met Commander Daniel Goodman. Sworn to protect the Orthodoxy, he treated the wind vessel Agnes with utmost respect. Despite his rank, he spoke with humility, and seemed to have a good-natured demeanor. He gave us permission to sojourn in Heartschild, stronghold of the Shieldbearers. We head to the Shieldbearers command post to report on the toxic mist we have been asked to investigate. We gave the commander the toxic sample the Swordbearers had in storage, and he asked his medical team to use it to create a neutralizing agent. However, Agnes wanted it destroyed, and he complied with her wishes, perhaps a surprising choice for a military man. We told Goodman how we had reached the Temple of Fire through the Mithril mine and awakened the Fire Crystal, and that all the Mithril was gone as a result. He was not concerned, as this would now hinder the weapon-making of his enemy. He promised to rebuild the temple once the eruptions had died down, and take in Egil and the boys. His benevolence knows no end. A chorus of Shieldbearer singers helped us repel Diva Praline, who was causing chaos at the Eisenbridge front line through her disruptive songs. Commander Goodman was elated at the news. Apparently, they later had problems with soldiers who remained charmed, and others that broke into dance, cheered, or started moving in sync with enemy soldiers. When visiting Commander Goodman's residence in Heartschild one day, we found the commander at home for once. Apparently, he had received an invitation to a banquet from the wind vessel, and had brought 2 of his officers with him. However, Agnes had sent no such invitation. Before we could act, a servant was murdered and the front entrance blocked off. We questioned everyone who remained in the commander's residence. Nobody was free from suspicion, so the commander calmly suggested we stay together until help arrived. Just then, the Shieldbearer officer Serendish Steiner died. It seems he had been poisoned by the tea the commander's wife had just poured for him. When Officer Steiner was poisoned, it placed suspicion firmly on the commander's wife, and she was confined to the dungeon below. Then, all of a sudden, the lights in the residence went out, and a scream was heard. Someone had murdered the Shieldbearer officer, Savish Neuer. The culprit was the Black-Blade ninja Konoe Kikyo, who had disguised herself as a slain servant. She attempted to take the commander's life, but we were able to stop her in time. Looking more closely, I realized she was the one who had given me a whack and ran away earlier. We prevailed after a frenzied battle. Elinor Goodman. Shieldbearers. Commander Goodman's wife, who waits for him patiently in his residence in Heartschild. She seems just as good-natured as her husband. A 38-year-old woman from Heartschild. She comes from a good family like her husband, and has been married for 15 years, although they have no children. Both she and her husband are well-liked for their congenial nature. Likes potato gratin, her husband's favorite. Dislikes an empty home. At the Shieldbearers command post, Commander Goodman gave us permission to stay in Heartschild. Led by Dats, we were greeted by Goodman's lovely wife. She said as companions of the wind vessel, we would be guests of state. Apparently, she made an excellent home-cooked meal, despite the wartime rationing. For personal reasons, I was not able to try it. Elinor took in Egil, who had nowhere else to go. She was adamant that he should not end up in the military, but worried whether he would listen, given that both of his late parents served as guards. We could not afford to risk taking a child with us on our journey to awaken the crystals. Egil had apparently been looking forward to our arrival since this morning. This may have foreshadowed the fact that Elinor would soon be left alone once again. She bid farewell to Egil, accepting that leaving was his decision to make. I admired her for having his best interests at heart. One day, we found Commander Goodman in his residence for a change. He said the wind vessel had invited him to a banquet, and he had brought 2 of his officers with him. Elinor was elated to have him home. However, Agnes had sent no such invitation. Their servant was murdered, and then the front door was sealed shut. Very mysterious. We questioned everyone who remained in the commander's residence. Nobody was free from suspicion. Elinor decided to pour everyone tea, but soon after, the Shieldbearers officer Serendish Steiner dropped dead from poison. Elinor could not escape falling under suspicion, and she was locked up in the dungeon below. The culprit was a black-bladed ninja Konoe Kikyo, who had disguised herself as a slain servant. She tried to take the commander's life, but we stopped her in time. Unfortunately, others had already fallen victim to her plot. Egil, Canary Boy. a canary boy who was taken to the Swordbearer's stronghold. In a daring move, Tiz rescued him from the enemy's clutches. An 8-year-old boy from Heartschild, whose parents died protecting Commander Goodman. He has an innocent charm and is always considerate of those around him. He is fond of the Fire Vestal, who he claims to have seen in his dreams. Likes the Fire Vestal and fried eggs. Dislikes studying. After Egil told us he received a message from the Fire Vessel in his dreams, Ines wanted to take him with us, but Tiz objected strongly. Egil reminds him of his brother, who perished when the Great Chasm appeared, and he does not want to put him in danger. After promising we'd all protect Egil, we headed into the Mythril Mines. In the Mythril Mines, Egil fell after the ground gave way beneath his feet, and Tiz dove forward to grab him. They were both about to fall into the lava until Ines' quick action saved them. The tension we had felt since Flora melted away, and we shared a tender moment. The owner of the inn at Caldissa was in low spirits after the death of his son Owen. We decided to bring Egil there to cheer him up. The king of Caldissa gave Egil permission to use the castle's training hall, and bestowed upon him the young soldier's badge that Owen once held. He also put him in charge of the reconstruction of Neverending village. In this, he hoped to make Egil a capable warrior, and aid both Tiz and the innkeeper at the same time. After Egil came to live with him, the innkeeper was soon back to his old self. Egil also enjoyed his new life, helping the innkeep, going to school, and visiting the castle's training hall every day. Till Orior, Tiz's brother. Tiz's younger brother, who lived with him in Neverending village. When the village disappeared into the Great Chasm, Tiz was unable to hold onto his hand, and Till fell into the darkness within before his brother's eyes. Tiz has slept poorly ever since, wishing he could have held on. Solomon, Barbarossa's friend. Now deceased, he once sought the Susanna ore aboard the SS Funky Francisca. Barbarossa, commander of the naval forces of the Black Blades, continues his quest to honor Solomon's dying wish. He sails the seas in the SS Funky Francisca, which is now a ghost ship. Archipeller, legendary bard. Now deceased, he was a bard of renown from Grandship. Knowing his days were numbered, he passed on his secrets to pupils around the world. He spent his final days teaching shield-bearer children in Eisenberg the joy of song. These teachings are still passed on today. Swordbearer Commander Eumeyer Estray. Swordbearer Commander. The Swordbearer Commander who started the Civil War in Eisenberg 4 years ago. 7th generation head of House Estray, he is descended from Ledley Estray, first head of the Swordbearers. His popularity and leadership pale in comparison to his ancestors, and many snigger behind his back. He led an armed uprising 4 years ago, brushing aside calls for caution. The duchy was forced to dispatch the Black Blades to support him. After the Wind Vessel awakened the Fire Crystal, placing the Swordbearers on the defensive, Estray stole Swordmaster Kamizumi's airship and fled the country with his followers. Shieldbearer Officer Serenish Steiner. Shieldbearer Officer. A high-ranking member of the Shieldbearers serving under Commander Daniel Goodman. He was caught up in an incident after receiving an invitation to a banquet from the Wind Vestal. He is rumored to have high career aspirations and does not get on well with Officer Neuer. Anya spoke with Officer Steiner, who suspects that fellow Shieldbearer Officer Neuer is the culprit. He thinks Officer Neuer has feelings for Commander Goodman and is plotting to kill his wife. Anya spoke with Officer Neuer, who seems to think that Officer Steiner is planning to kill Commander Goodman to take over command of the Shieldbearers. Commander Goodman suggested that we all stay together until the culprit was identified. Moments later, Officer Steiner dropped dead after drinking poisoned tea. Shieldbearer Officer Savish Neuer. Shieldbearer Officer. A high-ranking member of the Shieldbearers serving under Commander Daniel Goodman. She was caught up in an incident after receiving an invitation to a banquet from the Wind Vestal. She has yet to deny rumors that she and the commander are more than just colleagues. Anya spoke with Officer Steiner, who believes that fellow Shieldbearer Officer Neuer is the culprit. He thinks Officer Neuer has feelings for Commander Goodman and is planning to kill his wife. Anya spoke with Officer Neuer, who seems to think that Officer Steiner is planning to kill Commander Goodman to take over command of the Shieldbearers. After her colleague Officer Steiner was killed, Officer Neuer became hysterical. Then the lights went out suddenly, and when they came on again, Officer Neuer lay slain. Nastasia the Servant. Goodman Residence Servant. A servant at the Goodman Residence. She was hired after Egil left for Caldissa, as Elinor enjoyed having someone to talk to. She was killed at a banquet attended by high-ranking Shieldbearers, which was held at the Goodman Residence in the Wind Vestal's name. According to the Black Blades ninja Konoe Kikyo, who disguised herself as Nastasia and her 2 Shieldbearer officers, she killed the real Nastasia and tossed her into the lava at Mount Karka. The Sinking State, Grandship. Floating in the middle of the Sea of Corsairs, this floating nation-state was founded by a legendary pirate according to some, but others claim it existed long before recorded history. It is said that it has been unable to move from its present location for hundreds of years. Neutrality. Grand Ship serves as a crucial supply port for any and all ships sailing the Sea of Corsairs. It has no military and remains completely neutral in world affairs. Grand Ship takes flight. As written in the ancient texts, feeding orichalcum to the engine room furnace caused Grand Ship to rise, or rather, soar into the sky. It can sail far higher than the Echelot, high enough to surmount the Eternian Highlands. With its people evacuated, Grand Ship now presents us with the perfect opportunity. Eisenberg. The desolate land of Eisenberg, battered by brutal civil war and the mightiest volcanoes in Luxembourg, takes its name from the ancient term for Iron Mountain. Heartschild. This town is now the Shield-Bearer's stronghold, but before the Civil War, it was a flourishing city. The eruption of Mount Karka swallowed the south road to the Temple of Fire, and boiling lava creeps towards the outskirts of town. Eisen Bridge. This bridge, spanning the Great Rift at the center of Eisenberg, is the front line in the devastating Civil War. The Swordbearers seek to swiftly end the war by bringing large weaponry across, while the Shield-Bearers have dug in to prevent this. Mithril Mines. Producing primarily mithril ore, this mine at the foot of Mount Karka was captured by the Swordbearers a few years back. It's said that young boys are being captured and forced to work at the mine. Temple Passage. After returning through the passage that leads to the Temple of Fire from the deepest depths of the mithril mine, we found that every last vein of mithril was gone, presumably due to the effects of the fire crystal. Grap Keep. A swordbearer fort built upon the battlefield where the deadly poison weapon Toxic Mist was used 4 years ago. But it was not erected for military purposes. Rather, the facility's purpose is to prevent the toxin's spread and to conduct research on how to neutralize it. Temple of Fire. Unlike the other temples, this one shows disturbing signs of having been attacked and sacked by human hands. The Awakening. We have awakened the fire crystal, which had been swallowed up in darkness. It has now regained its radiance. Lair of the Swordbearers, Stark Fort. A fort in northern Eisenberg once stationed 100,000 Shield-Bearer soldiers. It has been the base of operations for the Swordbearers since their sudden uprising 4 years ago. House by the Sea. Dats and Zats use this abandoned house when trying to recruit help from Grand Ship. People and supplies are ferried in from ships anchored in the bay. Eternia region. Located north of Eisenberg, northwest of Caldisla, and west of Florem, this region consists entirely of a large landmass with the highest elevations anywhere in Luxembourg. The steep encircling mountains make passage to and from the outside world quite difficult. Known as the Land of Immortality since ancient times, it is a realm surrounded in mystery. For defeating Captain Barbarossa, we got the Captain's Log. Day 96 of the search. This marks the last patch of sea west of Anshine to be explored. It's been near 100 days since we found what remains our only clue. Day 148 of the search. The waters south of Caldisla, east of Eisenberg, and now most of the Sea of Corsairs can be scratched off the list as well. Day 824 of the search. Susanna eludes me still. 2 years. My promise to Mithria has gone unfulfilled. Day 1329 of the search. More blood on my handkerchief this morning. I fear I haven't long. Dearest Mithria, the Sea of Corsairs is... Day 2 after taking up the search. I found the funky Francisca becalmed. I boarded her and saw a settlement. Shiver it, man. Why didn't you tell me? But if his log says that Susanna was in the Sea of Corsairs, I'll find it. Just wait, old friend. I'll lay your soul to rest. In Grand Ship, we found the Sleeping Council minutes. I found some old minutes from the Sleeping Council. Seems they snoozed from the start. Orthodox Calendar, Year 1. Debate began over whether to send an emissary to celebrate the selection of the Orthodoxy's first Grand Patriarch. 18 months later, upon his demise, the debate became whether to send someone to mourn him. Orthodox Calendar, Year 3. The request to send forces into return to quell rebellion against the Patriarch arrived last year. Debate as to whether that entailed the sending of actual combat troops or merely supplies continued for 8 months. As the rebellion has died down as of the present date, so too has the aforementioned debate. Orthodox Calendar, Year 892. Following engineering's report on the sole operational engine's complete cessation of function, debate began over what impact, if any, this loss of mobility bears upon the nation. 15 months later, a consensus emerged. Because Grand Ship has ever been crossing moored, this new development poses no problem. This issue is tabled permanently. Orthodox Calendar, Year 1734. A study done over the last 6 years claims a full 40% of Grand Ship's population now sit on the council. with the members' mean age double the average life expectancy. Deliberations over the coming months will decide whether that number is to be lowered to 38% over the next 10 years or... Orthodox calendar year 2401. With grand ships sinking imminent, a measure to evacuate all councilmen to surrounding nations was raised and passed unanimously. A new motion to commandeer the 2 finest lifeboats among the 300 vessels in Hangar 89 for exclusive consular use is currently under expedited vote. Neverending Civil War. Shield bearers and sword bearers. Both groups are said to have originated as militias organized to protect the fire vessel, but in time they came to rule Eisenberg. The shield bearers maintained their traditional role as defenders of the fire temple and its vestal, while the sword bearers evolved into a force for vanquishing enemies attacking from beyond their borders. Shield bearers. Drawn primarily from the ranks of devout Crystalists, the shield bearers are Eisenberg's official military force. They suffered a bitter defeat in the sword bearers' sudden and bloody uprising, which was aided by a powerful mercenary force, arms from foreign lands, and the use of a toxic mist weapon. The group is now commanded by Elinor Goodman, who is barely holding back the Swordbearers' advance across the Eisen Bridge. Swordbearers. The group whose bloody uprising 4 years ago sparked Eisenberg's civil war. With the aid of a foreign mercenary group, they quickly took control of half of Eisenberg. Commanded by Meyer Estray, their ranks include many anti-crystalists. This has caused some to view Eisenberg's internal strife as more of a religious war pitting the mostly anti-crystalist sword-bearers against the shield-bearers, whose ranks include many devout crystalists. Canary Boys. Forced to work in sword-bearer-occupied mines, these young boys are so named because they are used to detect poisonous gas before it can do harm to others, much like canaries in a coal mine. The sword-bearers are few in number, and have found these mostly docile young boys are easily controlled with just a few guards. They work in deplorable conditions, extracting mithril ore and the extremely rare metal odicalcum from deep within the earth. One new summon in Promethean Fire, a land dragon swathed in hellfire that stalks the blood-stained lands of night. Its roar is searing flame, loosed from a steely maw split wide, earned from the anchorite of fire within the temple of fire.